In the heart of a serene, sleepy town nestled among rolling hills and whispering pines, a young girl named Lila lived a life brimming with simple joys alongside her devoted mother, Claire. At just 5 years old, Lila was a bundle of energy, her curly brown hair bouncing as she dashed through their modest cottage, her laughter echoing like chimes in the wind. Claire, a single mother in her early 30s with kind eyes and a gentle smile, poured every ounce of her love into making their world magical. Their home, though small and unassuming with its faded blue shutters and a garden overgrown with wildflowers, was a sanctuary of warmth. Claire worked as a seamstress in the local tailor shop, her fingers deftly mending clothes while dreaming of a brighter future for her daughter. Every morning began with Claire's soft voice waking Lila, "Rise and shine, my little explorer." They'd share breakfast at the worn kitchen table, oatmeal sprinkled with berries Claire picked from the backyard bush. Claire made sure Lila felt cherished, packing her lunch with heart-shaped sandwiches, helping with homework under the glow of a single lamp, and weaving bedtime stories that transported them to enchanted forests and distant castles. On weekends, they'd venture into the nearby woods, collecting colorful leaves, smooth stones, and feathers, turning their finds into art projects that adorned the walls. "You're my greatest adventure," Claire would say, hugging Lila tight. Their bond was unbreakable. For Lila, Claire wasn't just a mother, she was her anchor, her confidant, her entire universe. Evenings in their cozy living room were sacred rituals. Curled up on the threadbare sofa with a quilt Claire had sewn herself, they'd read picture books about brave princesses and clever animals. Lila's drawings, vibrant scribbles of flowers, animals, and their imagined adventures, covered the fridge like a gallery. The air often carried the scent of fresh-baked cookies or herbal tea, creating an atmosphere of pure contentment. Neighbors admired their closeness. In a town where everyone knew everyone's business, Claire and Lila were the epitome of quiet happiness. But fate, cruel and unpredictable, shattered this idyllic existence on what started as an utterly ordinary day. It was a crisp autumn morning, leaves crunching underfoot as Lila skipped to school, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She was excited to tell her friends about the weekend they'd spent building a fort in the garden. Claire, as always, knelt at the door, adjusting Lila's scarf. "Have a wonderful day, sweetheart. I'll be here when the bell rings," she promised, planting a kiss on her forehead. Lila waved goodbye, her small hand fluttering like a bird, oblivious that this radiant smile would be etched in her memory forever as the last. The school day dragged on with lessons in letters and numbers, playground games, and shared snacks. But in the late afternoon, an unusual hush fell over the classroom when the principal's voice crackled over the intercom, summoning Lila to the office. Her heart pounded with curiosity and a twinge of worry as she walked down the echoing hallway. There, in the dimly lit room with posters of smiling children on the walls, stood her father, David. He was a tall man in his late 30s, with sharp features and a perpetual shadow of stubble, dressed in a rumpled shirt that spoke of long hours at his construction job. He hadn't been a constant presence in Lila's life. He and Claire had separated years ago, their relationship strained by his emotional distance. Now, he paced near the window, hands shoved deep in his pockets, staring at the playground outside as if it held some secret. When Lila entered, he turned, his face etched with a strained expression that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Lila," he began, his voice thick and unsteady, like gravel under boots. "Your mother, she had an accident. She's no longer with us." The words hung in the air, heavy and incomprehensible. Lila's world tilted, her tiny fists clenched at her sides. "What do you mean?" she whispered, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. David avoided her gaze, his eyes fixed on the floor. "She's gone, Lila. There's nothing we can do." He offered no hug, no reassuring pat on the shoulder, just those cold, final words. That evening, the cottage that had always buzzed with life felt like a hollow shell. Lila sat on her bed, clutching the teddy bear Claire had gifted her on her 4th birthday, its fur soft and worn from countless cuddles. She replayed the principal's words, David's announcement, over and over. "Gone," she whispered to the empty room, tears blurring her vision. The shadows on the walls stretched long and menacing under the dim lamplight, and the air grew thick with silence. Outside, the world carried on. Birds chirped their evening songs, cars hummed in the distance, but for Lila, time had frozen. The house creaked occasionally, as if mourning too, amplifying her isolation. She felt adrift in a vast, uncaring sea, too small to navigate its waves. David, now thrust into the role of sole guardian, entered the living room where Lila huddled on the couch, hugging a pillow like a shield. He glanced at her briefly, his expression unreadable. "You'll need to be strong, Lila. Things have changed, and we have to move forward," he said flatly, before retreating to his room with a slam of the door. No stories that night, no comforting arms. Lila stared at the ceiling, the faint scent of Claire's lavender perfume lingering on the pillow, a bittersweet ghost that twisted her heart. In the days that followed, David's detachment deepened like a widening chasm. He rarely mentioned Claire, dodging Lila's innocent questions about her mother with curt dismissals. When Lila reminisced about their Saturday pancake tradition, Claire flipping them high in the air, giggling as they landed, David snapped, "That won't bring her back. Stop dwelling." The warmth of Claire's love faded into memory, overshadowed by David's rigid routines, early bedtimes, plain meals of cereal or toast, and a house that grew dustier and colder. Lila's nights were tormented. Without bedtime stories, sleep evaded her. She'd lie awake, tracing patterns on the ceiling, whispering to her teddy bear as if it could summon Claire back. The rain pattering on the window became her lullaby, each drop a reminder of tears unshed. Weeks blurred into a monotonous haze, each day heavier than the last. Lila's once bright eyes dulled, her laughter silenced. The vibrant art on the walls gathered dust, and the garden wilted untended. Then, Mary, Lila's grandmother, a spry woman in her 60s with silver-streaked hair and a face lined with wisdom, arrived after hearing of Claire's passing. Mary's heart shattered at the sight. Lila's frame had thinned, her cheeks hollow, her expression vacant like a faded photograph. The house, once alive with color and creativity, now echoed with emptiness. "Oh, my sweet girl," Mary murmured, pulling Lila into a hug that smelled of cinnamon and home. Mary visited sporadically at first, bringing homemade pies and stories of Claire as a child. "How are you, sweetheart?" she'd ask, sitting beside Lila on the porch swing. "I'm fine, Grandma," Lila would reply, her voice flat, though her cold hands betrayed the neglect. David barely acknowledged Mary, retreating to his room or muttering excuses about work. Noticing the signs, Lila's unkempt clothes, the empty fridge, Mary's concern grew. She began visiting more frequently, reading to Lila, cooking nourishing meals, and reigniting sparks of joy. But David bristled, accusing her of meddling. "She's my daughter, Mary. Stay out of it." One evening, Mary found Lila on the kitchen floor, nibbling a dry sandwich like a stray animal. "Why are you eating this? Didn't your dad make dinner?" Lila's eyes welled up. "He said he didn't have time." Mary's resolve hardened. Despite her modest pension from years as a schoolteacher, she couldn't ignore the neglect. The look in Lila's eyes, haunted, pleading, spurred her to action. She consulted a lawyer, documenting everything: photos of the barren pantry, notes on Lila's stories of skipped meals and lonely nights. "I have to fight for her," Mary told herself, steeling against the emotional toll. When David discovered Mary's custody filing, fury erupted like a storm. He stormed to her doorstep, face red and veins bulging. "You think you can take my daughter from me?" Mary stood firm, her voice steady. "Lila needs love and care, David. You're not providing that." His anger morphed into cunning. Suddenly, he showered Lila with gifts, toys, clothes, outings to the mall. "Let's get ice cream tomorrow," he'd suggest, his smile forced. Lila nodded hesitantly, sensing the hollowness. Meanwhile, he sowed doubts about Mary. "Grandma's too old, too frail. She can't keep up with you." The house filled with new possessions, but the chill remained. One fateful night, Lila overheard David on the phone with a friend, his voice low and scheming. "I need this to look real. If Mary wins custody, I'm finished." He detailed his plan, fabricating evidence against Mary, portraying her as unfit due to age and finances. "She's old and frail, it'll be easy." Then, the revelation that crushed Lila: that life insurance money from Claire. "That's the real prize. Enough to set me up comfortably. I'll act like it's all for Lila, but we both know better." A cold laugh followed, sending shivers down her spine. Terrified, Lila crept back to her room, trembling. She hugged her knees, tears flowing freely. The recent kindnesses, gifts, outings, were a facade. It was never real, she whispered, piecing together the puzzle. Amidst fear, resolve sparked, she couldn't let him win. That night, sleep eluded her as she stared at shadows, plotting to speak her truth. The custody hearing dawned in the imposing courthouse, its marble halls echoing with footsteps. Lila clutched Mary's hand, heart racing. David, polished in a suit, presented his case, a devoted father rising to tragedy, while questioning Mary's capabilities. Mary's lawyer countered with evidence of manipulation, bank statements showing David's grabs at Claire's insurance, witness accounts of neglect. Then, Lila took the stand, her voice quivering but resolute. He doesn't care about me. All he wants is the money. I heard him say it. He doesn't love me or Mom, he just wants everything for himself. Tears streamed as she continued, Grandma takes care of me. She loves me and talks about Mom so I don't forget. But Dad doesn't even say her name. The room fell silent, David's confidence cracked. The judge, moved, ordered an investigation and granted Mary temporary custody. At Mary's cozy home, a bungalow with flower boxes and a swing, Lila felt safe. Mary revived traditions, bedtime stories, garden picnics, art sessions. They visited Claire's favorite park, where Lila's laughter returned. You're my strong girl, Mary said. And you're strong too, Grandma, Lila replied. Life bloomed anew. School friends, shared meals, holidays filled with joy. Challenges lingered, brief waves, legal battles, but together, they faced them. Evenings brimmed with laughter over board games, the future a canvas of hope.